So, before I discuss my buddy Mike Zimmer, let me just get this out of the way. This is your left tackle.
Oh wow, who's that 52?
That's your left tackle. That sums up your team. The heart of your team is your O-line and your D-line. That's the heart of your team. You come into a game against a team you're supposed to beat handily. You're on your heels, you're not ready, you're backing away.
Every time Cousins drops back, his linemen, all of them get pushed back 5 yards immediately.
And the other team comes to hit you in the mouth. And here's your tough guy, all-world, JV Hall of Fame, strong safety, Harrison Smith.
If you put the letter S in front of Hitman, you've had my exact opinion of
Harrison Smith, manhandled by a running back as usual. Well, actually, I guess sometimes manhandled by a wide receiver. Harrison Smith getting his butt kicked all over the place, getting manhandled by wide receivers. Sometimes he just bites on the out route and lets Amari Cooper, one of the best receivers in the NFL, catch it deep. And then there's, one of your cornerbacks just deciding not to even try to tackle somebody. Team with no heart. Team that didn't come to play, and that's Mike Zimmer's MO. Oh, the defense played so well against the Bears. They held the Bears to under 150 yards.
Well, Lottie frickin' da!
You could have put 11 Harrison Smiths out there on defense, and they would have held the Bears to under 150 yards. It had nothing to do with the Vikings' defense. You don't measure yourself against the worst. You measure yourself against the best. How are they going to do when they actually face some real competition? Like the great Andy Dalton. 31 points allowed, they lose. But the key moment for me, and the thing that sums up Mike Zimmer football, late in the first half, like a minute 50 left, and they do a screen to Dalvin Cook that's massive, at 26 yards. And it's like, okay, let's ride this momentum, let's get into the end zone. And so what do? Of course, run up the middle, get nothing, and then we'll huddle up very deliberately with under a minute and a half left when we're at the 34-yard line. Mind you, 34-yard line. It is not first and goal or second and goal or third and goal. It's not end goal. It's not even close to end goal. You are at the 34-yard line with under a minute and a half left. Keep the foot on the gas. No, Mike Zimmer's goal is not to score. His primary goal is to run the clock out. And what happens? You huddle up, you let the defense get set, they pin their ears back. Number 37, he sees it going to Dalvin Cook, and like a bullet, kills Dalvin Cook. Fumble. That was all set up by Mike Zimmer taking his foot off the gas. Rather than putting the defense on its heels, you put them on their toes. And I'm pretty sure Mike Zimmer is trying to end Dalvin Cook's career this year, because we all know Dalvin Cook has injury issues, and the best way to use Dalvin Cook is to get him in space. So you run him up the middle, he gets these short gains, they don't do anything. Oh, they're wearing out the defense. Yeah, they really wore out the Cowboys defense. How the Vikings couldn't get anything going on their last two drives. Because when the Vikings want to run the ball at the end to run the clock out, they never can. Right? Because they haven't worn out the defense. That's not actually a thing. I mean, has anybody seen Alexander Mattison? He's maybe not as good as Cook, but he's good. And you don't want Dalvin Cook to be on crutches or in a wheelchair come week 13. Mike Zimmer wants to turn every game into a coin flip. Because that's basically what this past week's game was. Chris Boyd makes that interception in the end zone, Vikings win. He doesn't, so the Cowboys win. It's a coin flip, basically. I mean, look at last year, okay? The Vikings kind of stumbled at the start of the year. They were 2-2. Then they went on a winning streak, went 6-2. And once they're 6-2, they start to think they're better than they are. So they go into Kansas City against a backup quarterback. Sound familiar? They take a fourth quarter lead. Sound familiar? They have the ball at the end and can't do anything with it. Sound familiar? Their defense can't hold Kansas City at the end. Sound familiar? Following week, at Dallas, Vikings jump out to a big lead, 14-0. Then they take their foot off the gas. Sound familiar? Their defense implodes at the end. Sound familiar? Thankfully, Eric Kendricks saves the day. But again, it was a coin flip. Then the following week, Denver at home, an inferior opponent. So guess what? Vikings don't show up in the first half. Sound familiar? They come back in the second half to take the lead. Sound familiar? At the end, the Vikings defense implodes. Sound familiar? But Denver's quarterback, don't remember his name, not going to look it up.
Throw it at Rhodes.
Doesn't throw at Xavier Rhodes in the end zone. So the Vikings win. Again, a coin flip. Then the following week at Seattle, Vikings play a great first half against a superior opponent. Then they absolutely implode in the third quarter. Then they somehow claw back. Offense gets the ball back, and guess what? They can't do anything with it. Sound familiar? Another coin flip. So that's a 4-game stretch last year where every game's a coin flip, and the Vikings ended up 2-2 in those 4 games. Coin flip. This year, there have been 6 coin flip games. Tennessee, big lead, defense implodes. Sound familiar? Vikings quarterback drops game-clinching interception. Sound familiar? What the? Fire the coach! Houston Texans, big lead, defense implodes. Sound familiar? Texans possible game-tying touchdown, reverse time replay. Again, coin flip. At the Seahawks, Vikings lead by 5. They can go up 8 with a couple minutes left. Go for it on 4th down, don't get it. Russell Wilson drives like 99 yards for a touchdown when the defense implodes. Sound familiar? At Green Bay, the Vikings dominate most of the game, and then they nearly lose it when on their last 3 drives, the Vikings run on 12 of 14 plays and get nothing. Sound familiar? At Chicago last Monday night, Vikings dominate a terrible Bears team. Special teams ineptitude keeps the Bears in it. And of course, the Vikings score 0 points on their final 2 drives. Sound familiar? And then this past week against the Cowboys. What is the Vikings record in those 6 coin flip games? 3-3. They're coin flips. They can go either way. And if the Vikings had, say, Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, their record would be better in those coin flip games, but they have Kirk Cousins, and he's just the kind of guy who will make sure that you're in these coin flip games, but you only win half of them. That's Kirk Cousins. You even look at the Saints playoff game last year. Vikings dominated most of the game, first 3 quarters or so, and then, of course, foot off the gas. Sound familiar? Defense implodes. Sound familiar? And it goes to overtime. Comes down to the coin flip in overtime. Who wins it? The Vikings. Who wins the game? The Vikings, because they won the coin flip. With Mike Zimmer teams, when they are underdogs, Mike Zimmer has this almost mythical ability to make the Vikings dominate good teams for like half the game. And then they take their foot off the gas, it turns into a coin flip. When the Vikings are favored, Mike Zimmer has this almost magical ability to have the Vikings not show up at all for like the first half.
Anthony Barr wants no part of Josh Allen.
And then they come back in the second half and it turns into a coin flip. Or in some cases, like 3 games this year, the team just doesn't show up, period, ever, for the whole game.
Anthony Barr wants no part of Josh Allen.
We won't talk about that. But that's why you just can't be a great team with Mike Zimmer. 2017 season was a huge aberration. I think somehow they thought they were underdogs the whole year. They got to the NFC Championship game and thought they were the favorite and didn't show up.
Out of the backfield.
So Mike Zimmer's got to be fired. How much blame does Kirk Cousins get for not moving the ball at the end there? Did anybody think for a second that he would lead them to the win once the Cowboys took the lead? Did anybody think for a second that that would happen? Because if you did, you're drunk. I sure didn't. You know Mike Zimmer. You know Kirk Cousins can't do this. You're playing a team you're favored against. You could have been up 2-3 touchdowns at that point, and you don't need Cousins to win you the game. But you make it so he has to. You make it a coin flip. And so Cousins has to win you the game, even though you know he's not going to do it. Now, part of it is, I have no confidence in Cousins, but I also have no confidence in our offensive line. So when Cousins drops back, I'm like, crap, he's got to get rid of the ball because our line's not going to block. And so I don't know how much of it is our crap offensive line. Other teams, you watch the Cowboys. It's like Dalton, I think he was pressured on 4 of 34 dropbacks, I think I read. It's like he has all day. Like Mike Zimmer defense, they might as well just bring out a lazy boy for the quarterback to sit in to make him more comfortable. It's like they're always so comfortable against our defense. And it's not just this year. This goes back. With our offensive line, Kirk Cousins, I feel like he never has time. Granted, he has no idea how to move in the pocket or sense pressure, but the offensive line is designed to play against teams that are on their heels. So you have to keep them on their heels. But Mike Zimmer does the opposite. I give Cousins blame for that 4th and 6. He didn't give Thielen a chance on 4th and 6. Thielen looked open to me. And because Cousins is under pressure, he has no ability to control where the ball goes. He didn't give Thielen a chance. You got to be able to make a throw under pressure. He couldn't. our awards for this week. The award for a penalty so stupid that only a Viking could get it. There's a lot of candidates for that this week. First one was Jaleel Johnson for holding on a defensive lineman, which, you see maybe once every couple years, but hey, Vikings, let's do that. Next one was BC Johnson. I guess it's out of the witness protection program. He got a face mask on a stiff arm, which again, you never see. Only, of course, a Viking could do that. Next one would be Chris Boyd. Illegal shift on a fake punt. Just what are you doing? But the winner, of course, is Chris Boyd. The very next play on the re-kick, illegal block in the back on the punt coverage team. What? It's just this team. So badly coached. So badly coached. Fire Mike Zimmer. The Harrison Smith Award for biting on an out route even though it's covered and letting a guy beat you deep, that goes to Harrison Smith. There's two candidates for that. One was a fourth down play that luckily Andy Dalton threw to the out route. Bad pass even though it was open. And the winner was soon after that at the end of the first half where Harrison Smith bites on the out route and lets Amari Cooper just wide open deep. And last, our cheap shot of the week. There's a few candidates for this. So number 37 for the Cowboys, don't know his name, not gonna look it up. He had a couple. That Cousins fumble early in the game where he did the helmet to helmet, which of course wasn't called because he's a Cowboy and we need the Cowboys to be in the playoff race. And then there was the hit on Thielen near the goal line where he came in with his helmet. He also, the hit on Cook where he came in with his helmet. None of these called penalties, of course, because he's a Cowboy. We need the Cowboys in the playoffs. But the winner, of course, is Harrison Smith for the contact on the defenseless receiver. 15-yard penalty. I think they made the wrong call. 15 yards unnecessary roughness. I think it should have been 15 yards for just sucking so bad for many years and being so overrated. That's kind of a long penalty call. Sucking so bad for many years and being so overrated. That's going to be my new penalty that I'm going to try to get the NFL to institute for Harrison Smith. 15 yards for sucking so bad and being so overrated for years. Fire Mike Zimmer.